I used to believe my house was uneventful, ordinary, harmless. Looking back, that kind of thinking feels reckless now. Comfort can be dangerous when it convinces you nothing bad could ever happen. I'd moved into that house a little over a year before everything went wrong. It was a single-story rental on the edge of a quiet town most people only passed through on their way somewhere else. Neighbors waved, but nobody really talked. I liked it that way. After my divorce, silence felt like protection. No questions, no expectations. I worked long shifts at a warehouse just outside town, 10 hours a day, 4 days a week. It was exhausting, but steady. Most nights followed the same pattern. Come home sore, microwave something unhealthy, let the TV run while my mind shut down, then sleep. Over and over. The only real variable was my dog. Her name was Luna. Medium-sized, about 40 pounds, but she carried herself like she owned the street. Sharp eyes, always alert. She noticed things before I did, and I trusted her instincts more than I realized back then. That night began like any other. I got home around 7:40 p.m., kicked my boots off by the door, and sank onto the couch with a long breath that felt pulled from deep inside my chest. My body ached. My head buzzed with exhaustion. Luna followed me in, tail wagging slow and lazy. "Long day," I murmured, scratching behind her ears. She sneezed, then flopped onto the rug. I turned on the TV, not to watch, just to fill the silence. I ate crackers straight from the box, drank a warm soda, and stared at the ceiling, letting my thoughts drift. Around 9, Luna stood up. She stretched, yawned, and headed toward the back door. Yeah, I said, standing up. I got you. The backyard wasn't anything special. Patchy grass, chain-link fence, woods pressed tight against the back edge. I'd never worried much about her back there. She'd sniff around, do her business, maybe bark at a raccoon if one wandered too close. I opened the door, let her out, and left it cracked while I rinsed dishes in the sink. That's when she started barking. Not playful, not curious. This was sharp, aggressive, non-stop. I froze with a plate in my hands. "Luna?" I called. The barking didn't slow. I stepped halfway outside. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of wet leaves and dirt. Luna stood rigid at the fence, hackles raised, barking at one specific spot near the trees. "Hey," I said carefully. "What is it?" She didn't look at me, didn't blink. I scanned the fence line. Nothing moved, no sound, just dark tree trunks and shadow. "Probably a possum," I muttered, though my stomach tightened. I whistled. "Inside." She hesitated, then backed away, still glancing over her shoulder, like she expected something to follow her in. Once inside, she didn't relax. She didn't lie down. She sat near the couch, ears forward, eyes locked on the back door. "Knock it off," I said quietly. "You're fine." She flicked her eyes to me for half a second, then back to the door. I double-checked the lock, then the windows, then told myself I was being paranoid. By 10:30, exhaustion won. I turned off the TV and went to bed. Luna followed, but instead of jumping onto the mattress, like always, she stopped in the doorway, watching the hall. I left the bedroom door cracked. Always had. "Come on," I said, patting the bed. She didn't move. I fell asleep anyway. I woke suddenly, not to a sound, but to that feeling. The one where your body knows something's wrong before your brain catches up. The room was dark and silent. The bedroom door was wide open, much wider than I'd left it. My heart started pounding. "Luna," I whispered. Nothing. I sat up slowly, listening. The house felt wrong, like the air had changed. I stepped into the hallway. "Luna," I called again, louder. Still nothing. Each step down the hallway creaked louder than it ever had before. The living room looked normal. Couch, TV, shoes by the door. I rushed into the kitchen. Her bowls were full. Food untouched. Water untouched. My stomach dropped. "Luna," I whispered, panic breaking through my voice. That's when I saw her. She was crouched under the kitchen table, pressed flat to the floor, shaking so hard her claws clicked against the tile. Her eyes were wide, not relieved to see me, terrified. "Oh my God," I breathed. I stepped closer. "Hey, it's okay. It's just me." She didn't move. And then I noticed it. The back door was open, not cracked, open. Cold air poured into the house, carrying the sharp scent of the woods. Someone had been inside. I didn't scream. I didn't think. I grabbed Luna, held her tight against my chest, and ran. Out the back door, through the yard, through the gate, barefoot on freezing concrete, lungs burning. I pounded on my neighbor's door like my life depended on it, because it did. They called the police immediately. The officers searched the house. They didn't find anyone, but they found shoe prints, in the dirt, on the porch, in the hallway, upstairs. Someone had been walking through my home while I slept. I still don't know how long they were there. I still don't know where they were hiding when I went looking for Luna. And that's the part that still keeps me awake. Because sometimes, not knowing is far more terrifying than the truth. I was 13 when it happened. And for a long time afterward, silence stopped feeling peaceful. Any quiet room made my skin crawl, like something unseen was paying attention to me. I grew up in a calm neighborhood, on the outskirts of a small town called Ridgeway Park. The kind of place where kids rode their bikes until the streetlights flickered on. Your neighbors knew each other's routines, and nothing bad was supposed to happen. That's what everyone believed. Our house was modest, but it always felt exposed, strangely built. The back of the house faced the street instead of the front. Upstairs, a narrow balcony stretched across 2 bedrooms, my mom's room and mine. Each room had large double glass doors opening directly onto it. No bars, no alarms, just thin curtains and fragile glass separating us from the outside. 2 old trees stood right beside the balcony. One leaned in close enough that when I was younger, I used to climb it and pretend I was sneaking out, like in the movies. I only did it a few times. My mom caught me once and yelled, "You're going to break your neck." I never climbed again. But the trees stayed. Close. Too close. That night, my mom had taken my younger brother to stay at my aunt's place across town. I stayed home because I had school the next morning. And honestly, I liked being alone sometimes. It made me feel older, independent. It was a school night, completely ordinary. Nothing special about it at all. I was lying in bed, reading, using a small clip-on light attached to my book. The rest of my room was dark, except for the faint glow of a street lamp outside. Its light slipped through the curtains, casting thin yellow lines across the floor. I was halfway through a chapter when I heard something outside. At first, I ignored it. We had possums, bats, stray cats that leapt between trees. Noises were normal where we lived. Leaves rustling, branches shifting. But the sound didn't stop. It wasn't frantic like an animal. It was slow, careful. I lowered my book slightly and listened. Scrape, shift, scrape. Probably the wind, I whispered, even though the night was completely still. Then I saw it. A shadow slid across my curtain. Not fast, not sudden. It glided. My stomach dropped instantly. Before I could even think, my hands flew up and snapped off the reading light. The room went pitch black. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The shadow was tall, taller than my mom, taller than anyone I knew. It passed slowly across the glass doors, the streetlight behind it, forming a perfect black silhouette. One thing was immediately clear. Whoever it was trying not to be seen. They can't see you, I told myself silently.
They can't, but I could see him. He stopped just past the edge of the doors,
Barely out of sight, like he was listening. My heart slammed so hard I was afraid the sound would carry through the glass. Then came the noise that shattered everything. Click, rattle. Someone was testing a door handle. Not mine, I whispered. I slid out of bed as quietly as I could and crept to my bedroom door. The hardwood floor was ice cold under my bare feet. I twisted the lock and eased the door shut, praying it wouldn't creak. From outside, the handle rattled again. Come on, it didn't open. Relief hit me so hard I almost cried. It's locked. He can't get in. I stood there, frozen. Then I heard footsteps, light, slow, deliberate, moving back across the balcony, toward my room. The shadow returned behind my curtains and stopped directly in front of my doors. I clamped my hand over my mouth. I watched the shadow of an arm lift. A hand reached for my handle. My mind screamed. Did you lock it earlier? Did you? You were out there this afternoon. Did you lock it? The handle turned once. Twice. It didn't open. My legs nearly gave out from the relief. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, the footsteps started again. He paced back and forth across the balcony, slow and restless, like an animal trapped in a cage. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. I wanted to call the police, but we didn't have a phone upstairs. The landline was downstairs, on the opposite side of the house, and there was no way I was taking my eyes off that curtain. I slid down to the floor, hugging my knees, tears streaming silently as I stared at the fabric, waiting for it to burst open. Then he stopped moving. I heard his voice, low, calm, almost casual. I could just break the glass, you know. I swear my heart stopped before my brain caught up with the words. Then, headlights. Lights swept across the street outside. A car slowed, turned, and pulled up to our gate. My mom's car. The shadow snapped backward. I heard a heavy thud as something hit the ground below the balcony. Then footsteps, fast, frantic, running away. When my mom came inside minutes later, I was still on the floor, shaking so hard I couldn't stand. What happened? She asked, gripping my shoulders. What's wrong? There was a man, I sobbed, on the balcony. He tried to get in. Her face drained of color. She called the police immediately. They searched the area, but found no one. One of our neighbors mentioned seeing a dark pickup truck idling nearby earlier that night. It matched a vehicle police were already looking for, linked to attempted child abductions near my school, a block away. After that, I stopped walking alone. I stopped sleeping with my curtains open. And even now, more than 10 years later, I still lock every door twice. Because sometimes being home alone is the scariest thing there is. I was 10 years old that spring. On the surface, my life still felt easy, safe, uncomplicated. But even then, there was a quiet unease I carried everywhere, a feeling I didn't yet know how to explain. I didn't have words for instincts or the courage to trust them. I only knew the rules I'd been taught. Listen to adults. Don't cause problems. Don't exaggerate. Don't be dramatic. That spring break, my parents packed the car and drove us north to Clearwater Ridge, a sleepy Midwestern town where my grandmother lived. Everyone called her Nana Joe. Her house sat at the end of a narrow street lined with bare trees, the kind that groaned softly when the wind hit them just right. Winter hadn't fully loosened its grip yet. The air still smelled like wet pavement and old leaves. My cousin Tessa Brooks came with us. She was 8, small, thin, and usually half hidden behind my shoulder. Tessa trusted me completely. Wherever I went, she followed. Whatever I said, she believed. That responsibility made me feel older than I was, like I had to be brave even when I wasn't. On our second day there, Nana Joe asked, "Do you girls want to go to the wellness center for a few hours?" She meant the Riverside Wellness Center, a place everyone in town treated like a second home. It had a basketball court, a pool, workout rooms, and things we weren't allowed to use, like the sauna. "Yes," I said immediately. Tessa nodded hard. "I'll drop you off and pick you up in 4 hours," Nana Joe said. "Stay inside. Don't wander. Listen to the staff." "Okay," we both answered. The automatic door slid open when we arrived, releasing the sharp mix of chlorine, rubber mats, and something metallic. The building felt hollow that day, too quiet. A few adults jogged on treadmills behind glass. One man lifted weights alone in a corner. The front desk worker barely glanced at us. For the first couple of hours, everything felt normal. We ran across the basketball court until our sneakers squealed and our throats burned. We shot hoops and missed most of them. Eventually boredom crept in. "The pool?" Tessa asked. I shrugged. "Sure." The pool area was empty, except for a single lifeguard perched high in her chair. I'll call her Miss Calder. She wore a red sweatshirt, her hair pulled tight, her expression unreadable. She didn't greet us. She just watched. We swam laps, splashed, made up dumb games. Time slipped by, unnoticed. Eventually, there was nothing left to do. "I'm bored," Tessa said, clinging to the pool's edge. I glanced at the large clock mounted on the wall. Let's see who can hold their breath the longest. We stood in the shallow end beneath the clock. Instead of going under completely, we leaned forward with our faces in the water, eyes open. First round, I won. Second round, I won again. On the last round, my chest burned, but I pushed through. I was still winning when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I popped up, smiling. "You gave up already?" It wasn't Tessa. It was Miss Calder. "Knock it off," she said flatly. "That's unsafe." "Oh, sorry," I muttered. "If you keep it up, I'll have to ask you to leave the pool." We didn't argue. We were cold and finished anyway. "Let's get dressed and go back to the court," I said to Tessa. As we climbed out, Miss Calder stopped us. "You girls want to warm up in the sauna?" she asked. My heart jumped. A sign nearby clearly read 18 and over only. "Really?" I asked. She nodded. "Just for a few minutes." Tessa looked at me, eyes wide. I hesitated, just a second, then nodded. Miss Calder led us down a short hallway to a glass door. Inside, everything was wood. Walls, benches, floor. A clock hung above the door. A thermometer sat mounted in a clear plastic case. She unlocked the door and ushered us in. Then she followed, unlocked the plastic case, and turned the knob on the thermometer. I couldn't see the numbers, we were too short, but I saw her hand twist higher. "It's cold in here," Tessa whispered. "It'll warm up," Miss Calder said. Then she stepped out. The door closed. I thought I heard a click. At first, the heat felt nice, comforting. My skin tingled. We sat on the bench, wrapped in towels. "I'll check the time," I said, looking up. 10 minutes, 15 max. 5 minutes passed, then 10. The air grew heavy. Breathing felt thick. "It's hot," Tessa said quietly. "Yeah, let's go." I stood and pulled the door handle. It didn't move. I tried again, harder. Nothing. "Maybe it's stuck," I said, forcing calm into my voice. Tessa tried. Same result. We waited. We waited.
Another 5 minutes passed. The heat climbed fast now, not comforting anymore, aggressive. I walked to the glass door and banged on it. "Hey, we're done." Miss Calder sat at her chair, staring straight ahead. I banged harder. "We need to get out." Nothing. Tessa joined me, screaming, kicking the door. Our voices echoed uselessly. The air burned my lungs. My eyes stung. Sweat streamed down my face. We sat back down, towels over our heads. The damp fabric made breathing slightly easier. "Riley," Tessa whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't feel good." I checked the clock. 35 minutes. My head spun. I staggered to the door again, screaming until my throat burned. Miss Calder didn't move. That's when the thought settled in, cold and terrifying. She didn't forget us. At 45 minutes, nausea rolled through me. The benches burned my skin. My towel was dry now. Tessa lay face down, unmoving. I nudged her. "Hey, stay awake," she groaned. Then I saw movement outside the glass, a man walking past. Summoning everything I had left, I stumbled to the door and slammed my fists against it. The man stopped. Moments later, he returned, with Miss Calder. Relief surged until I saw her pull out her keys. She unlocked the door. I grabbed Tessa and shoved her toward the opening as the man tried to step in. Miss Calder pushed back against the door. "I think they want out," the man said, confused. His name, I later learned, was Ron Whitaker. Miss Calder sighed and opened the door fully. We ran. We didn't speak while we changed. We didn't speak in the car. When we got home, I told my parents everything. They didn't believe me. "You probably misunderstood." My mom said, "Saunas can feel hotter than they are." That day, I learned something. Not about saunas, about disbelief. I'm 21 now. I still panic in small, hot spaces. I still wake up gasping sometimes. And I still wonder what would have happened if that man hadn't walked by. I don't know what Miss Calder's endgame was. I only know this. She didn't forget us. And I don't think she ever planned to let us out.